And we are live.
We are live.
We are live. There it is.
Say we are live. Say hey y'all.
Hey, y'all. There we go. Okay. Everybody got it shared?
Yeah.
Hey. Hey, y'all.
Hey.
How's everybody doing?
Well,
Doing very well.
That's
How about
good.
you?
I'm good. Thank you.
I see the last couple of shows you've been kind of covering your shoulder back up. Like it's not out as much as it was at one point.
Well, hold on. That's a mistake.
If you're gonna be out,
That's a mistake.
if you're gonna be out here on this,
I mean, get to the whole shoulder, okay?
right.
My single shoulder. All right, so today is today's just an all around good day. So number one, we have Melissa joining us today. Hi, Melissa. And so did y'all plan for it to be okay? So it is Melissa's birthday. Happy birthday, Melissa.
Happy birthday.
B, it is Melissa and Barry's 21st anniversary, which
Yes.
I don't know if y'all saw my excuse me, I don't know if everybody saw my Facebook post about it, but 21 years in Black love and marriage is to be celebrated, okay? Because folks are pulling out after year 1, 3, 5, and 6, okay?
21 days, they be like, let's call it quits.
Right. My parents, they only made it to either 19 or 20. So, 21 is to be celebrated. So congratulations, you guys.
Thank you, guys.
And I tried to decorate. I was telling Melissa and Barry this earlier. I tried to decorate in here. Okay. So if you notice the background, like if I take, let me see if I can. No, I don't think it's going to work. But if the background is actually like a beach front wedding type thing, like you can see the chairs and stuff, and the flowers and stuff.
Yeah.
Right. So it's supposed to be like a beachfront, like wedding, setup or whatever for them. Just to that was my way of decorating for you guys. Okay.
Thank you
for decorating.
No, definitely. Yeah. Happy birthday
on yourself.
Yes. You said what?
I said you about done yourself.
Thank you, girl. No, 21 years is to be celebrated. So, I'm happy for you. I ain't even made it to 1 yet. So, 21 is a big deal. So I'm happy for y'all.
Appreciate it.
All right. So, and two. So, Erica. Okay. So, Erica.
Yeah.
And Melissa.
Okay.
Come in close, Erica. So Barry and Melissa have not ever had a wedding, okay?
Oh.
No, y'all, this is between me and Erica. Barry and Melissa have never had a wedding, okay? So we may have to pull something together.
Yeah, let's plan something.
Okay, so cool. Okay. So me and Erica had a little talk. Okay, cool. All right. So we have some special guests this evening. Before we bring them from backstage, everybody in the comments, y'all tell Melissa happy birthday. We're gonna stream it across the bottom too. And y'all tell Barry and Melissa happy anniversary. And y'all just flood the comments. Let me make sure I'm gonna put that in a banner to flood the comments with happy anniversary to Barry and Melissa. Okay. So we have some more guests with us today. If you are tuning in, let us also know in the comments where you are watching us from, because we like to see where you at. All right. But we have some more guests today, Theo and CJ, and we are going to bring them from behind stage. So, come on, y'all. Let's welcome to What's Love Podcast. Yay! Good evening, Theo and CJ. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you for having us.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us.
Yes.
Okay, guys. So we open up the show with an affirmation. It can be like super, super simple. Okay. Barry and Melissa, what's your affirmation for the day?
I'll go first. All right. So I read this one this morning when I woke up, and it says, "Don't be afraid to start over. It's a chance to build something better this time." So that was
That's a good one. It's never too late to start over.
Yeah.
Okay, next.
Mine was pretty simplistic. Mine is I am legendary.
There you go, girl.
Yes.
I'm married to a celebrity.
Erica.
I am committed to being a positive influence.
Okay. Mine is also simple. I can do anything that I put my mind to.
I know that's right.
Yep. Theo and CJ, do you guys have an affirmation?
Yes, I have one. I am always striving to be a better version of myself every day.
Nice. Okay.
And for me, I would say I love myself exactly as I am.
Good. Yeah. That's a good one. Okay, dokie. So I'm gonna give while I create this banner right quick, I'm gonna give CJ and Theo an opportunity to introduce themselves to us. Tell us what you guys do, how long you guys have been married, and where we can find you, in all of the work that you do.
Okay. Well, I am CJ Graham. Theo and I have been together for almost 10 years and married almost 6 years. I am, as far as work, I'm an author, I'm a speaker, I'm a life and relationship coach, radio personality, mentor, educator, all kinds of stuff. And you can find me on social media at CJ Graham, on Twitter, CJ Graham, on Instagram, the CJ Enterprise on Facebook, CJ Graham on Facebook. And I think that's about it.
All right. And I'm Theo Graham. I've been in the Jacksonville area, going on 20 years now. And, professionally, I am an adjunct professor of mathematics at Florida State College of Jacksonville. I've been teaching for about 12 years there. And also full-time, what I do is I'm a director of admissions for the Europe organization in Jacksonville, where we train 18 to 24-year-olds in this city on life skills, soft skills, hard skills, and some on internships. That's what I do throughout the day, but collectively as a unit, I'm also a motivational speaker, transformational speaker. I believe in investing back in others. So Jay and I collectively work together on a lot of projects. Since COVID-19, we've really been able to get together and put our heads together to really strategize about our next move, our next steps. So it's just been great, the past month, being here and just being on the show is amazing for us too. Yeah.
Well, welcome. Thank you again for joining us. Okay, guys. So I don't know if you guys have been.
It's been a long 2 years. Let me point that out.
We're gonna talk about it tonight. We're gonna talk about all them O's on tonight. Okay, guys. I don't know if you guys have been in the Facebook group any today, But earlier, I posted something that I came across in social media land, and it read, people who are raised on love shouldn't date people raised on survival. And we had a little dialogue in the comments, but I want to see what you guys think about that.
So who's going first? You gonna let the guest go?
Well, I'll jump in there and say, I guess I personally don't agree with that, because for my entire life, I've been raised on survival. I've been in survival mode all my life, being the oldest of 6 children to a single mother, from Duval County, Jacksonville, Florida, neighborhoods and school systems. And, so just to be in a place of being counted out,
Right.
of the love through relationships, because I was raised in survival, I don't think that's an accurate statement.
And I'll add on to that is, sometimes people don't know what they don't know. And, oftentimes they're going through life and don't understand. And some people are just hungry for just an opportunity, a chance. So when we speak that's a real big bandwidth of saying that, someone that don't, it's really saying unequally yoked at some point. However, I think everyone has that capacity to want to be better, to want to do better than what they've been in. Just that they just need that opportunity. So it depends on a case-by-case scenario and the 2 people that you bring together also.
I agree with that too. And just to echo what you just said, Theo, I think that when I first heard the statement, it was so absolute. I mean, and one of the things that makes it difficult is because nothing is absolute. Absolutely. Is absolute. And it also says that if you have been this person, then there's no opportunity or capacity for change. Right. You are able to be, and there is no opportunity for you to become or create. And we are always, we are never arrived. We are always just becoming becoming better versions of ourselves. And different phases of our lives bring about different people. So if I'm a person who, like CJ said, if I'm a person who's had to grow up in an environment where I'm surviving, well, if I'm with someone who grew up with love, then now my environment is the same. Absolutely. So I have to respond in that same manner, and now I can learn how to be different and how to operate, or for lack of a better term, we're raised in a loving environment.
Absolutely. That's good. And I was going to say, some people can be loved out of survival mode.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. But is that a hard task though? Loving someone out of survival mode.
It can be, but I think the person that you're ultimately connected with, especially, if I'll just say if everything, if fate and destiny would have these 2 people come together, then the person, even though it's difficult, even though they may go through difficult things, that person is equipped to handle the difficulties.
That's good.
Well, and I would also even say that it's difficult loving someone who has grown up in a loving environment. So the task is going to be challenging regardless of the environment. Whether I grew up in survival and you grew up in love, or we both grew up in love, we still grew up loving differently. So
that gap can still be greater. I mean, sometimes that gap can be a little bit wider, a little bit harder, depending on that person's experience.
Right.
I think the challenges may be different, though. I think the challenges may be different also because, in one case, but again, it goes back to the same thing. Even in a loving environment, where both people were in a loving environment, the love looks different. And so when you're coming together as a couple or in a relationship, learning how to gel those different types of love together, or even learning how to add and subtract, because even in our environment that we grow up in, there are some things that, I might not want to bring over here into this because it doesn't work, and then so we have to find alternatives, to fill in those gaps. So either way, it is challenging.
It's a commitment to the whole overall process. When we're talking about bringing two individuals together collectively, and there may be gaps, the commitment to the process, it takes both people working. One want to be better and one want to give. It takes patience, takes some sacrifice. So it's a lot of nuggets that's built into relationship building and, core building in the relationship. And it all depends on the individuals that's involved with that. Because some people are stubborn, and you can be pouring into them for month after month, and they're just unwilling to change. However, people that don't have the background and knowledge, they just were unlearned. However, you put them in a situation where someone's pouring into them, and they have the right attitude, then it all depends on who you have really involved and who sacrifice.
So if they shouldn't get involved or shouldn't be in a relationship, I would challenge them to say more like protect that space, like be cautious, just be mindful of the dynamics of the relationship that you're getting.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Erica, you were going to say something. Were you going to say something?
Oh, I was going to say the amount of being aware of the amount of patience that would be required to understand who the other person is, understanding each other's backgrounds and experiences and how those experiences have shaped them, and then setting goals as a couple to know, okay, if we're going to head in the same direction to meet this goal, whether, it's the dating relationship and you two ultimately want to get married, what do we want that to look like and what do we have to do to get there? Get on the same page. So it definitely requires some patience.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Something that Deshaun said last week that I've actually been kind of thinking on all week and kind of stuck with me is when he was talking about that period where you just observe it. You just observe. Yeah. And you can kind of observe who the person is that you're dealing with. And if you need, if they are a person, if you are the loving person and if they are the surviving person, you can kind of just observe that and see what is needed and if that's what you want to deal with. But I was having a conversation with one of my girlfriends yesterday. We don't allow ourselves, mostly women, don't allow ourselves that observing period, to even see if that's something that we want to deal with and if it's the time that we want to put into it.
I'll actually challenge that, Keedra. I don't think it's a matter of not allowing yourself the time to be observant. I think sometimes the lens that women look out of can be clouded or somewhat jaded for whether it be experiences that they've had. And I don't mean to be offensive, but sometimes the relationship is so desired by the woman, she'll actually overlook things and not see them for what they are. It's like, no, that's not a good dude, or you shouldn't be treated that way, but because you want the relationship so bad, or you want to be with a man or have that additional help, you're like, well, you will look at it and not see it for what it really is. So I think they are observant. It's just more so the lens in which they look out of.
Yeah. Okay.
I think both. I can agree with both. I think that women can be in a place where they overlook some things that they should be paying attention to. A lot of times women also make the mistake in thinking that they can love a person into being who they're supposed to be, or that they can change, the man. And, if he just experienced my love, he gonna change, type of thing. Right. Type of stuff. And so they will overlook some things. But I do think too, just to piggyback, just to validate what you said, Barry, that even in situations where their experiences, how they grew up, whether they had a father or didn't have a father in their life, or they watched their mother's dating experiences, that they do not do what Keedra said, which is allow themselves that opportunity to sit back and observe to see what's going on, to see if the man's actions are lining up with his words and stuff like that. We're really taught those things, you know. And women are typically far more, and we had a discussion about this in the house before, you know, men typically will date more than one person at a time. Women typically don't. We got that, we zero in that one person, that one man who says, you know, that we're the best thing since, you know, the sun, and then we hone in on that, and then we just yeah, we already, you know, calling ourselves by their last name, you know. So I think both, you know, happen where we don't allow ourselves to observe, and or sometimes we're in a position where we overlook, you know, red flags, thinking that we can change it, or that or that it'll go away at some point.
You know, and speaking to all the points that's made, you know, oftentimes you got, you know, women looking for validation in that man. You know, it's like, you know, fractured relationship, been broken, been hurt so many times. You get one person to maybe say some positive things and some affirmations to you. And then all of a sudden you're overlooking the 20 things that's not right. But the 2 things that is right, you say you're latching on and holding on to that hope that, hey, this might be the shot. This might be this man that could change my life forever. So just understanding the self-awareness as women, and the power that God have given you, you know, and just understanding that from that perspective can really prevent situations or relationships where you get into that can go south quick. So I just look at that validation point as been something that I've really identified to be an issue too.
Yeah. That's good, guys. Okay, well, we have 2 married couples on here today. So our topic, because that was not, even though the kind of, when we touch on the Facebook post, that always leads to good conversation, but it's not actually the topic for the day. The topic for this evening is, we have 2 topics, but we're going to start off with, you guys have been married for 10 years, and Barry, you guys have been married for 21 years. And so I know that it ain't all been peaches and cream. Okay.
Well, you may say it's been a long 10 years.
And so this conversation, I can see this helpful for everybody. Number one, I'm single, never been married. And so, I think that being single and never been married, there are a lot of women, I have friends who see it as marriage as like a fairy tale, you know, get into this marriage, it's gonna change everything for me. I'm gonna be happy, you know? Excuse me. And then you have the sect of people who are in marriages and realizing, oh shit, this ain't what I thought it would be. You know, so and Barry talked very openly about some of the things that, you know, him and Melissa have dealt with within their marriage. So tonight's topic is when you're no longer feeling connected to your spouse. This is the first topic. When you're no longer feeling connected to your spouse, and when the honeymoon is over, how do you deal with that? How do you maintain your marriage? You know, I'll say this. I was watching, I don't know if anybody watches T.I. and T.I. Family Hustle, right? But Tommy and Latavia from Destiny's Child, is her name Latavia? I think it is Latavia. Huh? Latoya, yeah, Latoya. They're very new in their marriage, right? About a year, maybe 2 years in, and within this time, his mother has passed away, and they had their first child together, and so they are not very happy where we're at in the episodes. They're not happy at all in their marriage. They're arguing all the time and they're trying to do counseling, but they're just not seeing eye to eye on that. And I was watching it today, catching up, and I was thinking to myself, oh, hell no, I would have been like, Negro, I'm done, So how do you get past that part and so early in a marriage to where, because quite honestly, if my husband was treating me how he was treating her, I would have been ready to call it quits, like for real, which is probably why I'm not married yet, but I was like, oh no. So how do you deal with when you come to that crossroad or that point in marriage and so early? How do you deal with that?
Well,
I'll say go ahead, Melissa.
Well, I was going to say that I think that number one of the things I heard you say was they went through it early. I think that one of the things that we often feel like is that problems don't arise until we've been together or married for a period of time. And so all relationships are different. Like I said earlier, nothing's absolute. I will say that we went through a lot of challenges from the very beginning, because when you first get married is when you're trying to establish boundaries, when you're trying to learn what living with each other looks like. And so you find out very quickly, usually sooner than later, that it's not all fun, because that is where it usually starts. Things start coming up and things start. And now you're figuring out how you deal with those challenges together. You know what I mean? So it's not uncommon, is my point, to experience that very early on. And I think that when people know that, because like you said, we're living in a fantasy world about what it is and what it's going to look like. And when we get together, it's going to be this, that, and the third. And then it doesn't look like what we have created in our minds, then we've already predisposed ourselves to thinking this ain't gonna work, and I'm gonna be out. But the reality of it is I believe that if more couples were honest about that, it would help those coming into marriage. And I think that's why these platforms are so important, because it doesn't have anything to do with the fact that they just got married as to why they're dealing with challenges. They were going to deal with challenges anyway. So what happens is if you know that you're going into those challenges, I think that you will start with safeguarding your relationship so that you can get through the challenges, so that you can work through it. Right now, they're just trying to figure it out, and there's nothing wrong with them because they're having these challenges. That's just part of the course. And I think that that's a big piece of it. So you said, what do? I think we have to be, our society, I feel like very different from like parent society or, our parent society. It was like, we got married and we stayed married. We don't live in a society like that. We got married and we're like, hey, if this don't work out, I'm out. So we don't have a tolerance or a patience. We don't even go in having set a standard. This is what I am going to do, what I'm going to commit to. And I think that has to be the first thing. It has to be a commitment. It has to be that unless I'm endangered or endangering someone else, then I'm in this. And I just feel like that's really honestly that's where it lies. And so then when you have that mindset, then you can start navigating life. You can start navigating the challenges. You can accept the fact that, hey, he's not my favorite person today, but go in that other room.
I think also too, just to piggyback on the difference in marriages, is that not only do we exercise our options more, I think most of it deals with the fact that we're more self-aware, as a generation, if you will, than our parents and grandparents were. When our parents and grandparents got married, it was more of a transactional relationship. I go to work, you take care of the house, there were personal ambitions, or there were very little personal ambitions. There were very little dream fulfilling, type situations taking place. And so where you have these new generations, us included, where we're more self-aware, we're exploring, all the different things that there are to explore in the world, different careers, different, likes and dislikes, interests and stuff like that. And so when you bring two people together who are exploring more in life and who are concerned about who they are, who they're becoming, where they're going, what they're doing, and who they're doing it with, it definitely does bring challenges, to the relationship, and in learning how to still be yourselves while merging your lives together in a relationship. And if you've been single any amount of time before coming together, then that's even more difficult. I think LaToya, I saw something with them before, and I think she said she had been single for like 6 years or so before getting married. So when I'm in this space where I've been by myself for this long and now have to incorporate another person, that's an adjustment. That there's a lot of learning how to not insist on having your own way all the time, but thinking about another person and allowing one another to discover your strengths, your weaknesses, where you lead and where the other one sit back, and where the other one lead, and you sit back, all those types of dynamics that are at play. So, and it happens soon, like Melissa said. Later, it happens soon. As soon as we get in this house together, and I see how you budget or don't budget money, it's like,
right.
Because we can talk about, have conversations, we can go to premarital counseling, we can do all of those things, and they're great. But it's nothing like on the job training when you're in there, when you're in the thick of it, and you're having to take those things that you learn and try to implement them. And it's easier than done to take what somebody said to me before I got myself in this situation to implement it after the situation has arose. So it's not a bad thing that people, are, and it's not uncommon, like Melissa said, that people are dealing with those things. It's just a matter of, number one, understanding that this is common and this is what we're supposed to be doing. But as long as you're not tearing each other down, beating each other up, or ready to check out, as Keedra said, ready to chuck up the deuces, then we continue to push through and work through and, battle it out, in a respectful way till we get to a place of common ground, or we decide, hey, when you dealing with it, you dealing with it your way, and when I deal with it my way, type of things like that.
Yep. Right. I love everything that everyone said. When it comes to marriage, I wish, look at hindsight says, I think every couple should go through some premarital counseling just to get some strategies, success tips, support around what you're getting yourself into. Because oftentimes we get lost in this bliss and say, we're ready to go, let's do this. But pre-marriage counseling can really help a lot. It's not everything, such as what you say. You're still on the job. You're still in the weeds when you're in a relationship. And also going into a marriage, around strategy is have deal breakers. Have that conversation up front. Let's sit down and say, divorce is not an option. We get to this point where we're talking about divorce and we're already broke that covenant that God put us together. So we always talk about our why. You say, what's the question when you're no longer feeling connected? Push the reset button. Let's go back to our why. At some point you have to be aware. We're arguing. I'm spending less time with my wife, my husband. I'm spending more time at work. We're not having engaging conversations. When you feel that distance growing between you and your partner, that's when you hit the reset button. So that's one of the things that Jay and I have done is that, you're going to have ups and downs. You're going to have spats, disagreements. That's a part of life. However, at the end of the day, it should never get to the point where divorce is the first option. That's the easy option out, right? So it's certain things, speak into the atmosphere, into our relationship and our marriage so that it doesn't come back to us. We may go to the next room. We may not talk for half a day. At the end of the day, we'll always come back and settle and hit that why, that reset button. Why did we marry? Why did God put us together? All They weren't there for no reason. And they're still there. It's just that we've got to a space where we're not, respecting them and not valuing those values that we've had coming in.
And for me, I agree with all of that. Definitely being proactive and being equipped going into your relationship. Of course, like you said, Jay, when you get the real life on the ground training, at least you're equipped with like, oh, I remember having a conversation with the counselor about this. This is going to come up. So then, like you said, everybody's saying it's not uncommon. I have the tools and strategies to deal with it. So the only piece that I think I will add is just, I think you lose each other in the day-to-day, in the mundane cycle and habits and rituals of going to work, paying bills, taking care of kids. So I feel like being extremely intentional and active. So what Melissa and I have done over the years, hey, each week we're looking at those, like, hey, we're gonna hang out here, we're gonna go here and do this. We're having deliberate conversations here, like, hey, let's link up and talk. Even as a husband, man, there are sometimes that isn't a natural skill of mine to like text and check in. When I get on a task, especially at work, I'm literally on that task. I mean, I'm not responding to text unless it's an emergency. Like, I'm on a task. So, but I've had to build the skill of saying, I'm
Barry, you're my twin right now.
I'm in a meeting. I'm taking notes. I'm at work, and I'm 100%. I'm at work. I do not multitask well. I do not have the relation to that kind of stuff. So I've had to understand that that's important to my life. And if it's important to her, that means it should be important to me. Like, hey, check in with me, say something sweet, dote on me, love on me through text, through conversation. Because when you were dating, you did it. Like, hey, girl, he
was all type of multitasking.
Right. Now I got all kinds of conversation. But now I'm like, girl, I gotta pay these bills. We got mortgage. Like, car notes due. I ain't got time to be playing. So what I've learned is, again, being intentional and proactive about it. So Melissa doesn't necessarily care for it, so I try to be mindful. But I'll set a text.
Yes.
I'll schedule a text and be like, "Hey, man, these are my sentiments." So it went out. I'm like,
tell you what, on my side, I was gonna pause for just a second.
And man, don't be putting all my business out.
You I felt like he couldn't see me. He had gotten into a place where it was like, we're here, but we're not here. You're not seeing me. I don't feel like I can't feel my importance in your life. And so to hear he was doing what he felt like I wanted him to do. But this joker had like 500 text messages.
I'm like, you got him. Like, just ran. Like,
so I was like,
there you go.
Like, you sleep next to me. How is this text message coming? And then at 6:22, I'm finally like, did you schedule this? You did.
I'm like, so I understand her sentiments, but I also wanted her to understand, like, hey, you mean a lot to me. Like, so these sentiments are true. Like, so what I am texting you or scheduling a text, like, I mean that. That's sincere.
Right.
But just my personality, again, just developing, like, I feel like at work I could be at work. So understanding how, okay, to break away to do that, I've gotten better, but that still isn't it doesn't come natural to me in this place as a husband and as a leader. Like I said, when I take on a task, I'm literally all in. So, but again, my point being is just being proactive and intentional. So
Barry, you brought up a point. You said being tasked, and I think that men in general even treat the dating process and the marriage as a task in terms of, this is, getting a girlfriend and making her my wife. That's on my to-do list. And so once I got her as a girlfriend, all right, now let me move to the next thing on the to-do. Let me make her my wife. Oh, I made her my wife.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And then so you move on to the next thing, task, which is more of the everyday things that you have to be more accountable for, in terms of measurable, which is your job, because again, like you said, if I don't make this job, then I don't get this money to pay these bills and stuff. And so it's easy as a man, to put that at the forefront. And so being intentional about not taking off the marriage as a task, completed, but being intentional about saying, okay, hey, if so-and-so, if they called a meeting and they wanted, us to celebrate and applaud so-and-so for their milestone and for, we all be in there, rah-rah, cheering,
Right.
And, Theo, that made me, sometimes I'll tell him I did something and he'd be like, well, you want me to pull out the pom-pom? I'd be like, well, yeah. Meeting and told y'all to give a hand clap or shake a hand.
Right.
Give me my pom-poms. Yeah.
And I think that too, I again agree with everything that's being said. I think that when, also from a female perspective, I also had to see the heart behind what he was doing. And so a lot of times we are looking for certain things, but we're not actually looking at what is being done. We or what have you, but the fact that you set up 500 messages in and of itself says that I mean a lot to you. So while it might have been robotic in terms of the delivery of it, the heart behind it was a place where he was trying to demonstrate and be intentional and proactive about his love too. So I think even from a female perspective or from a woman's perspective, we also have to identify, even though men may be task driven, we also have to acquiesce some too in that regard to the point where we do recognize, hey, I mean so much to him that he can't talk to me because he's concerned about keeping his employment, because what he does not want is to come home and tell me he lost his job because he's texting me all day, because then so
you shouldn't have been texting me all day.
Now
what you mean? You didn't know how money to pay his rent. You should have me all day.
You want me to text you?
Right. Melissa, really is what you're saying is we got to find a balance as much as possible, and sometimes it won't always be right in the middle. But if we can get to a place where the husband is saying, okay, let me just make a little more effort, to let her know how important she is to me and how I am thinking about her, even though I don't always say it or whatever. Let me make some effort, and then us as women understanding, okay, his heart, like you said, behind doing this, or acknowledging those moments where, even though it's not exactly the way I would have done it or I would have liked it, at least something, you're showing me something. So creating a balance as much as possible where we're both coming in, and meeting each other, or at least getting within arm's reach of each other.
I was on a show. We were on a show recently, and I came to this epiphany that I've spent my entire adult life as a man, spending, taking care of bills, working, trying to provide, raising, making sure I provide safety, security for the family, and you pour all your energy out to other people. But then when it comes to the house, your own children, your wife, you're tapped out. We get home late at night. We may have a few minutes of conversation and engagement, but we didn't pour into them. So what this COVID-19 has really brought me to a point where I said, man, you know what? I can step outside and say, wow, look at the amount of time you have with your family now.
Right.
Yeah. So what we've done, Barry, it's funny you said you schedule messages, right? Well, we schedule one-to-one. So each week, Jay and I have a one-to-one where I put on the camera send her an invite. This is our time to get together to talk about family goals, family planning. Very intentional about that, but it works. At least, taking the time to say, you do this for others, but the ones we're really supposed to do that for, family should be before anything outside. But work has really got us caught up in providing for bills, paying this, and we're on the go all the time. But it's just
he wants to meet. Yes, and he definitely is like that. And I think it's almost a task thing, but it's still, hey, this is how I'm putting my family first. He definitely.
So let me share this piece, and just to be even more transparent, what has had happen, especially in recent time, is I've had to increase my faith that God will provide. And it sounds somewhat contradicting, but you're on these jobs, you're like, God, I can't lose my job. So that's my work ethic. But it's okay to have a good morale. It's okay to laugh and smell the roses and not be so wound up. So for so long, I was so wound up on, I gotta achieve this. I gotta make sure my people are set right. This. So in recent years, when everything kind of went haywire, our perspective has changed. Our priorities have changed. We've learned so much. So all the stuff that I was putting in place is no longer there, and I've had to rely more on God, and I've had to be more vulnerable and be like, all right, something. Let me love on my wife. Like I've lost a job. We've lost tons of money, and I'm like, well, let me love on my people because them jobs are temporary. But God's provision is endless. Because in losing jobs, losing homes, or whatever the case may be, we literally have made it through together. So it's given me a different perspective in sense of like, hey man, again, that stuff is temporal. Like, of course, I want to do an excellent job. I want to do it in excellence. However, not to the extent of my family. So behavior that I'm still developing, but I'm much more mindful. Like, all right, man, let me take a break. Let me say what's up. Let's go outside. Let's take a walk. And like you said, with the COVID-19, we're like, all right, let's take a minute. Let's go outside of the street. So so for me, my faith has had to grow because there was so much of my faith was in my ability to do my job.
Oh yeah,
right. My faith and God providing for us.
That's good.
That's a real good point. God provides a provision for all of us, and I'm understanding my work, not my skill set, not my excellence in my craft. We think it's our craft that gets it done, but it's really God that delivers all that. So getting our alignment right with Him has been big too. I'm glad you mentioned that. Submitting everything to Him, those fears, insecurities, those doubts, things about, man, we're worried about this situation taking place. And then once we submit to Him, it's easy for the wife to submit to us too, and us to give back to her. Just that reciprocity works all within all of that.
I was going to say one more thing that I heard.
Keedra, y'all child.
What'd you say?
We had a married discussion and leaving Keedra and Erica out.
I've been married. We get enough talking in other episodes.
I've been married, and there's a few things that you, Theo, and Barry have said that I would have appreciated in my marriage to know. Like, it wouldn't have bothered me to say, okay, we have this time set up on the calendar, and I know that on this day at this time is going to be you and me. Like, that would have meant a lot to me. Whereas instead, I felt like I was like begging for time. And it's like, okay, you go to work every day and you're doing this and you don't have anything left for me. And so that, being able to know that, okay, we have this time where we have date nights or we have discussion about what our goals are for like that would have genuinely meant a lot to me and, could have made the relationship last longer because it would have been easier to get on the same page. But instead what happened is, we kind of verged off into two different directions. The first time fairly quickly. The second time it took a little bit longer, but more so because I was doing what we talked about earlier. I was like, okay, I'm going to focus on these couple of good things and block out the things that are. And then I got to the point where I was like, I cannot.
Right.
I don't I think CJ, you mentioned it earlier about being yourself, and I got to the place where I wasn't being myself. So I was like, I can't do this because I've lost Erica. Why the marriage didn't work. So those are factors that people really need to consider. Like everything that we see, we see couples and we celebrate couples, and it's like you got to understand, like Keedra said, it's not always peaches and cream. Like people need to be kind of honest and transparent about those things and how it's handled, so that we can teach other people. Like from my experiences, I'm able to teach my children when they're in relationships. They can call me for advice, and I'm actually able to give them advice, even though I'm not married anymore. But I'm like, based on my experience, here's some things to consider. I never tell them what to do. I don't tell them what to decide, but I kind of give them, okay, here's some things to consider.
Right.
As far as being in a relationship, and that's worked out. But that's my perspective on the things. Those things like the time, like the heart behind Barry scheduling the text is like, at least he did that, I mean, he sat down and blocked off some time to get away.
Right.
Yeah. One more thing that I was going to say too about, we talked about, I know Theo said earlier, going through premarital counseling and things of that nature. I believe that it's important to continue counseling even once you get married. Rely on counseling when something's wrong. And I'm like, nothing has to be wrong for us to figure out ways to do better. And sometimes you as you start you need kind of a third party to kind of help you navigate through some of the things that you're thinking and some of the things that you're feeling. And I'm like, continuing to just go to counseling as the marriage continues. It have to be, an every week thing or what have you. It can be bi-yearly where you just basically sit down and take stock of your marriage. What has happened in your marriage?
Like going to the doctor for a physical, the wellness of your marriage.
Exactly. And it has to be where you are, because we're constantly evolving, we're constantly changing, we're constantly developing. As we age, we become different people. We go through different experiences that cause us to have certain thoughts and feelings. And I'm like, well, we need to make sure that we're changing and evolving together, and having a third party just helps you to navigate those things. Right. Dealing with it, and it's just one-on-one. Yes, it's great. It's good to, like you said, to have these strategies, but when my emotions are hijacked, baby, you can forget those strategies. Somebody come get them. Remember that we went to counseling at this point, because right now I'm so emotionally hijacked that I can't even focus on, I can't even really see straight. So I just believe that continuing that counseling, that actually will help.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point. And one of the things that I think all couples should have, everyone, man and wife, husband and wife, should have an accountability partner. It's important to have someone you can talk to. Hey, I'm going through this right now. I'm struggling with work right now. I'm working my butt off. Wife is happy with me right now. Talk to me. What can I do? That's what I also encourage every couple to have small groups. We're leading a small group right now. And leading that small group or being involved with that, we get to see other people with the same exact struggles. So you don't have no one to reach out to. It's so when you can talk to other people about what you're going through and how you overcome this, how to deal with this situation and get different strategies. It's so helpful. So the accountability partner and the small groups continuing counseling, that's so vital to the maintenance and the sustainability of the marriage.
Melissa, talked about evolving as people, and we're growing and we're changing, and that should be what's happening even within a marriage, that the individual people are evolving. They're becoming someone better. And so even in that place of when we talk about being disconnected, I know, a lot of times couples always try to get the person who I met, you're not who I used to be, or you're not who I'm married. Whereas I am not who you married, that I'm a different person now. And a lot of times the disconnection can come because couples do not pay attention to the evolution of themselves and one another and learning how to navigate being married to this new evolved person. And so, like Melissa said, going to counseling, and even Theo said, having, accountability partners or other married couples that you can sit and talk with and say, well, Theo is doing this thing now, and I don't know what this is or where this come from, so how can we work through this, or what do I need to do, type of stuff, or what did he need to do? So that's important, and lessening the gap between two couple, a couple, and them getting to a point of being divided and disconnected, or even as Erica said, going their separate ways, because now we're just learning how to live our individual lives together. We're just in the same, but we got two different lives happening.
And be specific about that accountability partner. We don't want to get someone that's going to endorse when we're wrong. I need someone that's going to call me to the carpet and hold me to a high standard. And we have to be open to that. If you're wrong, call me out. And I got to receive that feedback, right, to get better. You don't want someone that's going to always co-sign with everything that you bring up and say, they're on your side. It has to be someone that's going to be neutral and open and really out to help your marriage become better.
That's advocate for the marriage. Anybody come to me that's married, I tell them up front, I advocate for the marriage. I'm not advocating for an individual. So if you're sharing, oh, he did this or she did this, and I'm going to ask you, and so how did you contribute?
Right.
What could you have done differently, or what could you have said differently? Because there's always two sides. It isn't somebody always reacting or just going off the hinges for no reason. There's two parties involved, always contributing. Even the person who's silent, the thing is sometimes people say, well, he did this to me, or she did this to me, or whatever. Even not doing nothing is contributing. Even boundary for yourself is contributing. Well, how many times do they have to do this before you say something to them? Do they know that this bothers you? Do they know, or okay, if they do know, then where's your boundary for yourself? It's not about controlling the other person. It's what I'm doing for myself to make sure that I'm not wounded or disrespected or dishonored by another person's actions.
Good stuff.
Yeah, this is good stuff. Barry, though, right quick, you said you were scheduling text messages. Help the brothers out and let them know how to schedule text messages. Okay.
You know what? He was actually very strategic about it too. Because he would schedule them at 5:19 a.m. and 5:19 p.m., which is my birthday, our anniversary.
Oh wow!
So and they will come through.
A brother got to do what he got to do.
Help the brothers out. Let them know what app you were using.
So real talk, man. I think it has more to do with just personal development. And I'm not trying to be funny. Like I want to grow as a man.
Yeah.
Like I want to be a better man, a better person overall. So that's whether my profession, whether that's my marriage, being a father, being a brother, a friend. Like I genuinely want to do things better. I want to, so for me, I saw the counsel from a life coach, from a therapist. I was like, well, let me get my pride and my ego out the way. I'm damaging some things in my relationship. All right, so I'm accountable for at least my part. And Melissa and I, we were having a really difficult time. So, I actually, it may sound hard, but I got to the point where, well, even if we're not together anymore, I don't want to take my baggage into another relationship. I mean, like, I want to be a good man for whomever I'm with. I want it to be with her. That's my desire. But if she's like, hey, this is where she gets off, I have to respect that. I have to respect that. But that doesn't negate me being a better dude and me being a better man. So the emotional intelligence piece I've had to develop. I've been intentional about reading it and listening, in developing and having those conversations with the life coach. Yeah, Bentley all about this time.
He comes in the same time every week.
Let us go about time to wrap this call up. So,
you know, it's time to go.
So honestly, man, so when you talk about those scheduled text messages, as I'm reflecting over my own,
we just want to know the app, Barry. Just give us the app.
You just when you go and type in your text, and then there is a option that says schedule text. So it's not even.
It's not an iPhone feature.
It's not an iPhone. No.
Oh, iPhone don't have it. As much as y'all be giving me a hard time about iPhone.
No, iPhone does not have that. So, but that's good to know. That's good to know, because if I come across a brother, single ladies, if we come across a brother who does not have an iPhone, you can let him know. You can schedule those text messages, and I do know.
Already messed up. You gonna let somebody know?
And then if he has an iPhone, then you tell him he needs to switch over to Android. That's what he needs to do.
No.
Back together.
He can keep the iPhone.
Theo said identified from the beginning. So when I met him, we were both Android users. So that's why it can't be a deal breaker.
I haven't evolved.
There you go.
But it's gonna work out, and he come with an Android. It's over.
Sad.
Well, this was good conversation, guys. I know that I know that this was good and helpful information for everyone, not just couples who are married. I'm sitting here listening, being that I'm single, maybe, hopefully I'll get married one day. And if I do, then, as being single, you kind of have this idea of how things should go, And so it's one thing to have an idea, and then it's another thing to actually hear about it or hear, of certain situations, how to handle certain things, what to expect from people who are actually gone through it. And especially when you don't have, I necessarily don't have people in my life that I can go to and, listen to stories and, stuff like that. So excuse me, being married for a long time. So, for folks like me who are not married and do not have those people, those persons that I can go to and, hear and learn from and glean from, that this has been very, very helpful and insightful. And it kind of helps you as a single person. It kind of helps you shape your mindset, to prepare. I do hope to be married one day, maybe, hopefully, maybe, possibly. But you said what?
I said all these disclaimers, maybe. I'm not really sure yet.
But no, it does help you shape, your mindset. Because I'm telling you, I came into this conversation thinking totally different, because I told you I was watching the LaToya, and I was like, girl, bad. Like seriously, that would not be me. But now I see it from a different lens. You know what I'm saying? Like, dang, if I was married, that would have been me. So maybe that may help me hold on a little tighter to my relationship.
My dad says all the time, from war comes peace. So in order for us to get anywhere where this is going to work, we're going to have to fight through some things in order to figure out what works. And and so the hope is, or the prayer is that I have faith and optimism that on the other side of this is where we're going to want to be. But in order to get there, we're going to have to, it may be some wars. It may be a knockdown, drag out. You might win this round. I might win the next one. Until we figure out what it looks like for the both of us. Barry and I got married. It was like my mom used this analogy. She was like, you're going to have to figure out what works for your household. Because when she grew up, my grandfather went grocery shopping. Well, for my dad, my grandmother went shopping. So she's like, the table looking like, well, how we gonna eat? So she mad at my daddy, and he looking at her, he mad at her, and we like, well, how are we gonna eat? And so you fight it out in order for the purpose to be, let us make some progress.
Absolutely. And it's gonna look ugly. It's gonna look ugly. It's gonna look ugly. It's gonna be painful. And again, we're taught in society that if you're feeling any pain, you're in the wrong relationship.
Right.
That's not a true statement. If it looks ugly, and no, that ain't the one, go find. No, it's gonna look ugly. It's gonna be painful. And like Melissa said, there's gonna be some wars. Absolutely. There's gonna be some bloodshed. Okay. But I'm gonna come after I done cut you. I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna dab your blood. I'm gonna stitch you up and put a Band-Aid on it, and I'm gonna kiss your boo-boo, and we're gonna say goodnight. All right, do it again tomorrow. and so that's in the mindset again. Not that we should deal with anything and everything, but we should know who we're dealing with, and we should know what we can and cannot handle. And I think Theo said earlier, deal breakers, but ugly, conflict, pain does not equate to I married the wrong person.
Right. And so I always say that that can be a thin line, especially when you're not quite married yet, but you've been dating or dealing with somebody for, a good amount of time. And to me, that just seems like a thin line because, I'm not your wife, so I don't have to deal with this, So it's like, where are what are the boundaries in that? Like when you're not married, you're not engaged, you're just, you're dating, but you've been with this person for a substantial amount of time. Do you just walk away, or do you deuces, or do you stick it out? Where do you start to implement that thought process?
Define substantial. Put a number on substantial for me.
Dating for how? You talking about dating for how long?
She said when you've been with somebody for a substantial amount of time. What's substantial?
Let's say you've been with somebody for about, and I'm just throwing any number. Let's say about a year. About a year.
I think, if first of all, before dating, go and do a self-check, a self-analysis. Write down, okay, this is my rubric. These are, things that I look for in a relationship. Okay, I'm looking for this. I'm looking for this. I will not do this. My own boundaries. I'm not having sex. Whatever you want to have out there prior to going into that. So therefore, this is me. This is my unique, authentic self. That's prior to dating. Now, when you're dating, don't tell the script to the movie scene. I can't tell you the lead role, what I'm looking for in the part. I mean, this person hurt me before, they broke my heart, and then all of a sudden, somebody can play you against the same role. Anybody can be an actor on a show. All right. So don't tell the script to anyone. You have your deal breaker. Let the relationship grow organically. That means you look for the signs. You have active conversations. You listen to each other. You engage. You talk about what's important. You find out the value systems. That could be on your paper too. These are my value systems. And then you identify in time. And then if you hold true to that and be consistent to that, and everything matches up, God, I truly believe God will take care of everything else. Everything else will fall in place. They will value and respect you. I'm not having sex before they'll value everything that you have on paper and if you hold true to that. But I think some people, it's hard to read the signs if you're moving 80 miles per hour at a 30 mile per hour speed. So.
Right. That goes back to
how you don't know the signs and what they're telling you to do.
You can't read them, right? So that's
Melissa, right.
Well, you going back to the observation piece earlier, And so, and I will say this to what you said too, Keedra. You said, well, when do we start placing these boundaries? I think first of all, you have to know what the objective is of what you're doing from the beginning, because you may have one objective and they may have another one, which means you're already speaking two different languages. So you have to identify whether you have the same objective. And truthfully, what I do believe is that boundaries are going to change as the relationship changes. So you may have one set of boundaries, just like Theo said, listen, I'm not having sex before I get married. Well, clearly we know that's going to change once we get married, whatever the case. I'm not.
Barry. What, Barry throw a monkey wrench in there?
This guy. But when we're dating, there's a whole nother set of boundaries that even allow us to get to the place where we can get married.
Right.
So then we're establishing those boundaries. We're having those conversations as we go along. Like Theo and CJ said, you know, knowing what it is knowing who you are and what it is that you need first. Right. It's the first boundary that has to be set, because I think another part of it is we get lost in dating and we become so fluid because we don't know.
Right.
And then so we're not setting these boundaries, and then we end up marrying somebody, and we're steadily evolving and changing, and we're fluid based on our mate when we haven't even figured out who we are to be grounded enough.
Absolutely.
To take the stance that I'm taking.
Right.
You know, so
let you know how much to put up with.
Exactly. Like you said, that's how you know what I'm gonna, what I'm not gonna take, and what my deal breakers are. And so for me, I even feel like even with deal breakers sometimes can become fluid too, depending on who you are dealing with. So my deal person maybe deal breakers I'm dealing with another person.
Absolutely right. Yes.
As relationships to grow, I think the boundaries will also change. You will know when and where to implement the boundaries if you know who you are and what it is. You can't start having boundaries when you don't even know what you stand for. You don't even really know what your values are. So how is it that I'm not going to do that, and then the next minute you're doing it because that really wasn't a value of yours?
Right. Absolutely. It just sounds good. You read it in the book, and now you're going to implement it. But you know, and I just want to say this too. You know, even in the world where we're taught relationally to find people that are compatible, okay, with us. And people use that word, but really don't know what the word compatible means, okay? And even as to Melissa's point about being yourself or knowing who you are, when you marry, if my goal is to be married, I need to be looking out for someone who is complementary to me. That means that my strengths are going to be their weaknesses, and their strengths are going to be my weaknesses. And once we get married, we learn how to be compatible. And compatibility means learning how to work in harmony, learning how to synchronize. So compatibility isn't you like the same thing that I like, we eat the same thing, we like the same places. That's not compatibility. Compatibility is we take our complementary and opposite traits and we learn how to bridge them together.
Good. That's good.
Integrate.
Yes, but the world says find somebody compatible, so I need to find somebody. If we're not looking for people, if you don't like tennis like I like tennis, then we can't date. We can't.
That goes back to that. That goes back to that initial question from the beginning about someone loving and someone surviving. You know, they're two opposites, so they can contribute to each other. Right. In that way.
Because the one who knows how to love may not know how to survive.
Right.
Come on.
Right. Yeah. Listen, I was in the military. I'm out here low crawling, and you said so we can get out of this.
Right. Like, get down, girl. Be quiet. I need you to.
Those traits, opposite traits again, and we will typically marry somebody who is our opposite. If you believe in God and you know who He is, love. It's easy to love somebody that's like me, quote unquote. It's a lot more difficult and take a lot more effort and a lot more intentionality to love someone who is different from me. To embrace and accept someone, and we typically marry the person that's opposite of who we are, because the opposites are meant to come together to create a whole that works again in synchronization.
A lot of people see us, but we are polar opposites. Jay and I are on two different ends of the spectrum on everything, but we came together to learn how to evolve with each other. And I think the excitement keeps the engagement level. It sustains the marriage when you're learning to give and take, to see it from someone else's perspective, So that keeps it, it keeps a fresh relationship because each day is always something, a new discovery.
When we were dating, he had a list. I was nothing on that list.
She
liking a woman. Have tattoos. Oh, got 4. She has to cook. Oh, I hate to cook. She has to work out. Oh, miss me with that one. Complete opposite.
That magnetism that brings you together.
Yes, absolutely.
Because we've learned
I will share is that when in couples, especially when you're young and new at it, you have to understand that we're not in a competition either. Like, so what happens is those differences, sometimes you can feel like, inferior. And you're like, well, no, she's here or he's here to compliment, to assist.
Absolutely.
So making sure that you operate out of a spirit of cooperation, like we're in this together. Because I've seen early in our relationship with Melissa and I, because we are different, I'm thinking like, well, maybe your differences are better or mine are better. We're not here to each other. We're here to use our gifts, skills, and gifts, skills, and abilities as a team. So that's extremely important.
And that's great that you brought that up, because even like the things that Theo has been doing a lot of his life, like speaking and spontaneity, just several of his attributes that I did not innately feel like I possessed, or I wasn't as comfortable in those spaces. I've learned from him. So now that I'm in the arena where I'm speaking, where I'm on platforms, where I'm showing up in different rooms, I'm able to do those things to a higher level of comfort than what's natural for me, because that's innately who he is. So he has been a teacher in that capacity, and even encouraging me, and he's and bringing me up. I've been a student. So when you allow yourself to be a student of one another to help improve in some areas, then it, like you say, it avoids the competition, or it avoids this inferiority or superiority complex, and even understanding that, those things eventually, because we're married for a purpose, those things will eventually come together and contribute to the whole of the reason why we're married.
That speaks to the importance of self-awareness and being confident in who you are, knowing the gifts that you bring to the relationship or the marriage, and just being self-aware, knowing what you are and what you are not, and being confident, being just as confident in what you are not as what you are, because then that, to me, I don't know, I've never been married, but to me, that lessens the competition a little bit, and it leaves me more willing to learn, because I know that this is not my strong point, and I'm very aware of that, and I see that in you, so I'm willing to learn, and then that just takes away that competition
and the burden and the stress, because if it's something that I'm not good at, then the extra effort that it would take for me to try to do that in excellence is too much. But if you're good at it, then I can just pass that off to you.
Right.
You or vice versa. And again, we're working as a team, and it's not as much of a burden, or it doesn't create the stress that it could be if I'm trying to do it all by myself, because I got to show you.
Right.
I mean, story, like we've been there too, because for me, it's been like, when you think about finance, one of the biggest things in relationships, right? So, and at the beginning, he was trying to lead and manage our finances and lead our family, and I'm like, well, why you get to be the one? And so finally, he was like, well, fine, you do it. I'm like, wait a minute. I don't want to. I'm like, hold up, wait, that's not what I meant.
That's not what I was saying. just want you to ask me first. That's all. Just ask me.
But now I'd be like, here's the money. Give me mine, and you do that.
Absolutely.
But at the beginning, like you said, it's like it was more of a struggle because and quite frankly, like you said, CJ, it lessens the load when you operate in the vein where you are supposed to operate.
Yes.
So that like it's a complementary sort of thing when you understand that this isn't I'm better at this, but sometimes it is I am better at this. So for me, it's not work. For you, it might be work. But let me do it because it doesn't taking on and being in a lane that you ain't got no business being in. Actually, it puts our whole framework in danger. Because you're operating in a space that's not intended for you.
You're not anointed to do that.
Yes. You're not graced for this.
That's not your gift. That's
He
not
just
your
said,
lane.
I'm not anointed to do finances.
I did not.
That's such a critical point that you all brought up, Barry and Melissa, about it's not a competition. People really need to know that. Yeah. It's complementary gifts that each one have. You know, we all have gifts, talents, and abilities. Like in our household, I don't have a problem. I love to work, make the money, but I don't like to manage all that stuff. That's her strength. I'm not competing with that. But, you know, at times we have to humble ourselves in our roles within the marriage. And it's a humility. Sometimes pride puffs up and you want to compete with other people. When you humble yourself, then that allows God to work through your household, through your marriage. And now, you know, it protects your legacy, your family, and the children by our decisions. So just knowing our roles, when we step up, when I can step up in my strength, and also when I step back in my weakness, when you can really realize that and operate in those areas with each other as a couple is really, really awesome.
That's good. We definitely need to preach that to the brothers, man, because that pride and that ego be something serious. But
and I was gonna say, because he in the beginning, I realized that I was better with money than he was. But we struggled there in the beginning because he thought I was trying to control him. You know, you ain't controlling me because he was used to, doing what he do. And I'm like, listen here, bro, I don't know who you was dealing with before. We got responsibilities. And we got little people running around here that need to be taken care of. We got food. We got your nice suits and ties and all that. But we got to create a budget.
Let me tell you my wake-up call. My wake-up call, she says, you want to do it, here's all the bills, and this one ain't easy to pay. She showed me the schedule. I said, you know what, I'm done. So, let me shut my mouth. The lights would have been cut off. I don't know what would happen.
All right, guys. Well, this has been a wonderful conversation, a great conversation. So at the end, Theo and CJ, what we do is we do our last words. And so today, our last word is going to be one word to describe how to deal with conflict within a marriage.
For me?
I'll go. Who said pray?
I said pray. That's me, Theo.
Pray. Okay.
I say talk.
Talk.
Okay. I'll say from what I've learned, I'll say patience.
Patience.
I say wait.
Wait.
Mine would be wisdom.
Wisdom.
Yours be what?
Wisdom.
Yeah.
Using wisdom. Okay.
Erica.
And I would say reflection.
Reflection. That's a good last one. All righty. Well, it's so easy to just keep going and going and going and going with this conversation. Barry, Erica, and I can sit around all day and just talk and have to end up cutting ourselves off because we could just keep going. So I hate to cut this conversation short, but our time has come to an end. Thank you so much, Melissa, for joining us. Thank you so much, Theo and CJ, for joining us. We hope you Bentley, we hope that you enjoyed yourselves. We definitely enjoyed. I know I enjoyed this conversation. I can't speak for everybody, but I know I enjoyed this conversation. We would love to have you back to join us again for another conversation.
Yes, we'd be honored.
It's been an extreme pleasure for us, and thank you, Barry, for reaching out to us too. Setting all this up, and CJ for following up with Keedra and all, you're just making this happen. So it's just been an honor for us.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. All right, you guys don't, Barry, you have a tendency to just be like, as soon as we be like, all right, see you later, you be like,
the class be over. I'm like, the class is done.
So nobody go nowhere yet, okay? But we are going to go. And so we thank you for joining us on the What's Love podcast. You can catch this live version on our Facebook group page. You can also catch it on our What's Love podcast YouTube channel as well. We are here hold on, wait a minute. Okay, there it goes. We are here every Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. and we are live. So, oh man, we got a lot of comments. I didn't even see all of this. So hold on a minute. Some people say honesty, compromise, trust. Guys, let me know when you have something for a single divorce. I enjoy as well. Oh yeah, we got to get back on our. We have to get back on our. Well, once all of this stuff has been lifted, then we're going to get back to try to plan some events. We have peace, we have love. So those are some last words that some of our viewers have submitted. So thank you guys, thank you viewers for submitting your last words as well. All right, guys. Bentley is letting me know that our time has come to an end, as he does every week. So thank you for joining us. Again, you can catch this on our Facebook page. Please join our Facebook group page where we have lots of great conversation every day. And you can also catch us again on YouTube, What's Love podcast. All right. See you guys. See everybody again next week right here at 6:30. Have a blessed and good evening. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.